morning. Happy Thursday.
Happy
Collin.
Thursday. Welcome to the big picture. New sound, new look, same big picture.
Absolutely. Where we're diving in depth to the top stories of the day.
Right.
So first, we got to talk about it. The biggest story, OSU taking on TCU in just a matter of three hours at this point.
Right, 12:15.
Yes,
so
it's going to be a huge game.
Yeah.
We have Adam, Nicole, and Dom all coming on talking to us about it all. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
And we got to see the Buckeyes do it. They have got to win.
I know.
All right, the other big thing, spring break safety. We are in peak spring break season. Everybody's headed out of town, but you got to worry about keeping your home safe. So we're talking about how to keep your home safe by leaning on your local law enforcement. Also, a new burglary trend that's popping up. That's coming up at 9:30.
Yeah, that's an interesting story that we have coming up. And then we were talking about swatting calls. That is when someone calls 911
makes a false
and
911
says
call.
a false situation, and then police show up and it's not really happening. So our Lacey Crisp, she's coming on here to talk about a recent case that's currently being prosecuted, and she talks to law enforcement about how difficult it is to track these callers and actually prosecute them. So,
but first, we've got to get to the big story of the morning.
Yes.
A new update coming out of the war in Iran. Just probably about an hour ago, we heard from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth giving kind of an update on where things stand overseas. Now, there have been some pretty significant developments in what's gone over there, but here first is what we heard from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth starting off that news conference about where things go from here.
Again, today will be the largest strike package yet, just like yesterday was. As I've said from day one, our capabilities continue to build, Iran's continue to degrade. We're hunting and striking death and destruction from above.
So this comes as overnight, Iran attacked the world's largest natural gas facility, which is partially owned by Iran, but also partially owned by Qatar.
And this happened because Israel bombed Iran's
section of that oil field.
Yes.
Yeah, which is the South Pars oil field. Yes.
So back and forth. It has not slowed down. But Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, he said, we are winning decisively. That is what he said about an hour ago. So, so the oil prices, this is all making it soar this morning.
Yes. And, with these strikes on these various oil and energy fields, this is what the New York-based Sofin Center said, hitting these gas fields, it's a, quote, clear expansion of the conflict. Now things are really ramping up, and we've even seen President Donald Trump get involved in this as well. So
he put out a tweet late last night, and he is saying he did not condone of this strike, Israel doing this. And then he said that he's now threatening to completely destroy the South Par gas field if these energy attacks continue.
Right. So I think there is some confusion there of, Israel hit South Pars.
He doesn't like that.
Doesn't like that. And then Iran went for North Pars, which is the Qatar section of this Pars oil field there in the Persian Gulf. And then him saying, well, we'll come back and completely destroy it. So, there's some unanswered questions there.
We actually have some video of this morning. This is actually video from Kuwait. This is what happened literally hours ago this morning. You can see that's one of those fields just igniting on fire from an attack. And there's been significant damage to the infrastructures there. The fires are out. And then this is what... Yeah, this is in the South Par. This is what Israel did to Iran Wednesday night. So that's the aftermath of that.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's a huge fire.
Right. So
it's really destructive.
You might be thinking, okay, this is all happening overseas. This doesn't affect us, but it does. In the grand scheme of things, when we talk oil prices, this has a pretty oil and natural gas facility. So these facilities are what are known as liquefied natural gas, LNG, and that's how it's transported and stuff. So all of this really affects how things work here at home. What we're seeing play out in the Middle East is going to have a direct impact on our wallets. And this all is because of diesel prices. The world literally runs on diesel. Yeah. And right now in the state of Ohio, those diesel prices, they've been hovering around $5 a gallon, which is a lot of money. We haven't seen it that high in the last 5 years or so, but it's gotten higher in the past, and we're kind of inching closer to that highest rate. Right. And when we talk about, you might think, okay, it's just semis that run on diesel. No, it's the locomotives that pull the cargo trains, the cargo ships, and then all of that farming equipment is pretty much decisively diesel powered. And as diesel approaches that $5 mark, eventually those costs have to be eaten by someone else beside us.
Right.
So,
and literally after the strikes happened this morning, when we got the AP wire and we had it play this morning, we then got to push that the cost per barrel for oil is now at $114.
Right.
So there was like this instant effect on the prices of oil.
Right. And we're still away from the most expensive that it ever was, which was 2008 when it hit about $141.
Yeah.
So, I mean, no one wants to see it get that high because, remember how high gas prices got back then. So let's take a look at the gas prices here at home because most of us drive gasoline-powered vehicles and don't worry too much about diesel fuel.
We've seen in the last week the price of gas for your unleaded gas, average folks like us out there, it's risen by 30 cents, which I think is a lot. And I think definitely after what has happened this morning, it's going to go up even higher.
Right. And so here we have the national average of about $3.88. Ohio's average right now is $3.73. If we take a look here over Franklin County, we're at about $3.76, almost $3.77, and really Central Ohio is seeing some of the highest gas prices for the state. Once you get towards, over toward the Indiana line, things get a little bit cheaper. But and so I guess the other question there is, what about U.S. crude? We produce our own oil.
And we have oil reserves.
We have oil
deep
reserves.
Underground in Texas and Louisiana.
And technically, we are energy neutral. We produce enough oil to keep ourselves flowing, but the big but on that is our infrastructure is not ready to handle a kind of crude that the United States does.
Which is just interesting in general because we are such a oil, like diesel heavy, like society. I mean, the trucking industry alone, like we don't really use public transit that much. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's very interesting, this whole thing.
Yeah, and this is what Gas Buddy had to say about what is the future of especially diesel prices and how it's going to affect things.
Farmers use diesel out in the fields. Construction equipment consumes diesel. Diesel is really the fuel that powers the economy. So diesel prices above $5 a gallon now in 22 states. And that number is surely set to grow here.
Yep, it's going to just keep going up, unfortunately.
And so why we can't convert over to just taking care of ourselves on this is that most of our refineries were built in the 70s and 80s, and they were built to handle what is called heavy crude. It's a really thick, viscous, if you remember science class, viscous crude, and that is really the oil that is produced by the Middle East, also produced out of Canada and Mexico. What the U.S. produces is this lighter, sweet crude oil, and most of our refineries, it's about 70% of them are for that heavy crude. The lighter crude, only about 30% of them handle it, and it essentially hamstrings us, according to the American fuel and petrochemical manufacturers. So we can't do that. Obviously, oil is tied to, it's a commodity. I'm not going to get into how commodities are traded and what is a commodity. It's the same thing as like bean, corn, and orange juice.
Yeah, and we need the Strait of Hormuz, which is currently under attack.
So even though we can produce our own, our prices are still tied to what is it's trading globally. So even if we could become that neutral energy supplier, we're still kind of stuck.
And we heard from Chairman Kane in that press briefing that happened about, 10 minutes ago. It wrapped up probably. He said that our objectives are staying the same. We're continuing to attack and move further into Iran. And they really wanted to focus on targeting Iran's Navy ships. And so far, we've hit 120 vessels. And the pressure's continuing. So they're really trying to get a grasp on the Strait of Hormuz to hopefully then lower the oil prices down. But if these oil fields keep getting attacked, I don't see an end in sight.
The future could continue to become more expensive. And also, the costs of this war have certainly been felt here at home. The dignified transfer of the 6 airmen who were killed when that tanker aircraft, that
refueling
Stratotanker crashed over Iraq. They were transferred yesterday. We'll show you some images here. These were posted by the White House on X. Media was not allowed at the dignified transfer, but these are some images of that transfer yesterday. Very
President
solemn
Trump,
event.
you can see at the very end there on the right.
Ohio Governor Mike DeWine was also there.
Senators Bernie Moreno
and John Husted were all there, along with the military families. It's a very solemn, heavy event if you haven't ever witnessed one of these. And it was also something that was brought up by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth beginning off that news conference today at 9 o'clock. I'd like to play that if we can, get that queued up here. It's input 48 Zenobia. He referenced the toll that this goes on and what he's had to say with the families.
Yesterday at Dover Air Force Base, President Trump, the chairman, and I stood in solemn silence as heroes came home. Flag-draped caskets, we honored them. We grieved with their families, and we listened. What I heard through tears, through hugs, through strength, and through unbreakable resolve was the same from family after family. They said, finish this.
And so 6 bodies were brought home, and 3 of whom were from Ohio, from the Rickenbacker National Ohio Guard Base here in Columbus. And here's a photo of them.
Yeah.
Devastating, just sad news. But I know their families are happy and relieved to finally have them back on U.S. soil.
Right. And
they will be transferred to Rickenbacker.
Will eventually. We just don't know exactly when.
So they are home, though.
They are. And now Master Sergeant Simmons, that was awarded posthumously. His family told us that was his dream to achieve that level in the service. So it's an incredibly sad thing. But
yeah. Pete Hegseth, he said today, nothing is perfect in war. Lives will be lost, and it's devastating.
Right. And, as the families, especially now Master Sergeant Simmons' family has said that this was something he was proud to do. He was proud to serve his country. He loved his country. And, was always ready. And, that's one thing we've heard from the 121st here based out of Rickenbacker, that that mission must continue. And it will. And, they're going to be grieving the loss of 3 of their airmen for this. But
that was definitely the sentiment from the DOD today at that press briefing, just that this mission is continuing. Right. We are making progress, according to Chairman Kane, but it's not over just yet. So we're going to keep following this story, obviously, as it continues. I mean, again, new developments out of the Middle East are coming in day by day.
Absolutely. So right now we've got to take a quick break. Coming up next, we are talking March Madness.
Yes.
We're going to South Carolina. Adam and Nicole are standing by live. They'll join us from Greenville. So that's coming up in 2 minutes.
Welcome back. We are talking about the madness happening in South Carolina today.
Officially underway.
I know,
Buckeyes
the dance is
take
on.
to the court in exactly 3 hours, 12:15. And you know who is in
We have
South
some
Carolina
special
right
guests.
now?
Yes,
Yeah.
Adam and Nicole.
Adam and Nicole, they're standing by for us,
Let's
guys.
bring them in.
It's got to be super exciting down there. You guys got up bright and early
I know.
to join us on 10 TV News this morning, and now you're still with us. How's it feeling down there? What is the energy like?
Well, coffee is a magical thing, first of all. Let me tell you that. And if we didn't have coffee, we'd still have the excitement of March Madness starting. They're going to open these doors in just about an hour and 45 minutes for all the fans to pour in here and to be able to get their first look at the court and get excited to see the Buckeyes, Nicole.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we've said, this is the first time in 4 years that Ohio State has made the trip to the big dance, and March Madness logos everywhere. We got a nice basketball that fans can purchase. It's exciting. We know it's one and done season. You win, you advance to the next round, and the Buckeyes are hoping to do that today.
Guys, I'm very good. I got moves.
No, you're not.
I got moves.
Okay, Adam, Nicole, you guys were in the locker room with the player. You guys are silly. Okay, you were in the locker room
so
yesterday
rude.
with the players. What was the energy in there? Like, you guys were having fun with them. They seemed really light.
Incredible. They
Light,
were
loose.
Yeah. They were just having a lot of fun. They've said it all, kind of all prep for this tournament, is that they're just happy to be here. They haven't been here in 4 years. They're pumped to experience it together. Bruce Thornton said it best. He said, this is a dream that a lot of people don't get to live, and I get to live it. So I loved that kind of energy because Jake Diebler said it when you talked to him, Adam. It's nothing new for these guys. They're just here to play basketball.
So we did this Selection Sunday special back when they announced on Sunday. And Brandon Beam, you hear him on 97.1 The Fan, he said, I don't like the term house money.
Yeah.
This is house money for Ohio State. They have made the tournament. That was always the plan on this season. That was always the expectation. Right now, it is meets expectations. If this was a job review, the next question is, can you exceed the expectations? The win against TCU does that. And then you see what happens. I mean, Cinderella always shows up in March. And there are a lot of people that think it could be this Buckeye team. I think the Buckeyes think it could be themselves, guys.
I do not think they are the Cinderella team. I think Iowa State would be.
You know, I would like Iowa State to be the Cinderella team. I don't know if anybody else
That's who Collin's
does,
rooting for,
you know,
Adam and Nicole.
But, you know, hey, I'd also like to see the Buckeyes do it.
Yeah, it would be pretty crazy. I mean, they haven't done it in a while. So, Adam, Nicole, what happens if they lose today?
That's it.
That's
it's
it.
over.
It's one and done season.
That's
and
it?
That's kind of what's the best part.
That's it.
The best part of March Madness is that win and you're in and you advance to the next level. Survive and advance. The Buckeyes know they're playing for their lives.
You
Come on.
just have to play 40 minutes of your best basketball 6 games in a row, and you're national champions. It's that
You're
easy,
making
guys.
it sound easy.
And then, I mean, if they make it past TCU, eventually, you know, it's the matchup with Duke,
which is a big
which I know
game.
is the, you know, I guess the 1,000-pound gorilla in the room. You know, what do you guys think? Where's that going to go?
I think if they listen, it's March Madness. You have to play the good teams at some point. I think that they knew they were going to end up with this kind of matchup with a 1 seed, and I think they would have taken Duke 10 times out of 10. I think there are a lot of people out there. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, betting is everything for people nowadays when it comes to sports, and so where you think Ohio State's a big underdog, I could see it being a 4.5-point favorite for Duke, where Vegas and a lot of the country thinks Ohio State is poised to pull the upset. And one of the biggest things, Nicole, with March Madness, there are 4 games here, which means there are 6 other fan bases that are watching these games. If Ohio State were to play Duke, there's a really good chance they get on Ohio State's side because everybody loves an upset in March.
And that's the thing. People love those Cinderella stories. I mean, a few years ago, it was, St. Pete? Or remember that year where everybody got behind them? People love those kind of stories. Not to, you know, poo-poo Duke, but #1 seed's kind of boring.
Yeah.
You know, like, people love the upsets, the Cinderella stories.
Yeah.
And I will say, not to be too basketball specific, but when it comes to Duke, when Duke played Florida State, I think they had a lot of things that were exposed about that basketball team. So if I'm Ohio State, I watch that game, I run the tape back, and I see, hey, the Blue Devils, they've got some weaknesses in there as well, but they are a very good basketball team.
Yeah, Nicole, I love how that basketball is matching your fabulous red suit right now. And Adam, did you finish your brackets?
Stole my basketball.
It looks really good, doesn't it?
It does.
She stole my basketball.
Too funny. Adam, did you finish your
rude.
brackets?
I did. I finished it last night about 12:15 in the morning. I
Okay, good.
I got a lot going on. We're excited about chasing the championship here. All the specials we've got for you, bringing the coverage. I was like, I'm going to get too wrapped up. So last night I sat down and I finished it. And you know what? I did it in one take. I didn't do any of the math, any of the statistics I used to.
You just go with your gut.
Went with my gut, and then I turned the TV off and went to bed.
And how long did you sleep? Because
Yeah.
you were up with us about 5 this morning.
I got a solid 45 minutes.
You know, that's great.
Oh, my
You know,
goodness.
sleep of champions right
45
there.
minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, thank you so much. Have so much fun out there today.
Yeah. All right, guys, have fun out there. And of course, you can watch this game on
live.
10 TV. That starts at 12:15, but immediately after, flip back over here to 10 TV Plus because we'll have full post-game coverage with Dom, Adam, Nicole, folks from the Fan. It's going to be a whole celebration regardless of the outcome.
Yeah, and we have Dom actually coming on at 9:50.
50-ish, yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to give his insight into this game as we, wait for tip-off at that 12:15 time. So we're going to take a quick break. Coming up next, we have our Jay Plyburn talking about some
Ballet
amazing,
Met.
really, really cool ballet that's premiering this weekend here in Columbus. So we'll be right back after this short break.
We're back
All
right
right,
now here
welcome
on the
back.
Big Picture. Yeah,
Yes.
on our Thursday. My
Yes.
goodness, we've almost made it through the week.
Thank goodness.
Weekend is
It's
upon
been a
us.
long week, it feels like.
There's some exciting stuff going on.
Oh, there's some good stuff coming up this weekend. Fresh off the controversy of
Oh my
little
gosh,
Timothée
Timothée
Chalamet saying
Chalamet.
something to the extent of, I don't want to be working in ballet or opera. No one cares about this
Which
anymore.
is a crazy thing to
I know,
say.
and he got roasted for it at the
Yeah,
Oscars.
rightfully
He
so.
has. But you know what? Ballet and opera are very much alive and well and
Yes,
cared
they
about
are.
here in Central Ohio. In fact, Ballet Met continues. Its 48th season this weekend with a rare triple bill. What's a triple bill, you ask, Collin? Good question. A triple bill is a curated program featuring 3 distinct one-act performances in a single evening. Basically, it's 3 for the price of 1.
Okay.
Which we all like.
And it's choreographed by
right.
3 different choreographers,
It's 3
right?
different choreographers, world-class choreographers, and we have some video from the recent rehearsals to show you. Take a look at this. Starting tomorrow and running through next weekend for the love of dance at the Davidson Theater. This is 3 different ballets choreographed by 3 different choreographers. Ignite by Juanjo Arquiz, 7 Sonatas by Alexei Ratmansky, and Divide and Conquer by Ballet Met's very own Leland Charles. Ignite pulls inspiration from the burning of the Houses of Lords and Commons, which is a work by British painter William Turner. The dancers wear yellow, orange, and red silks, representing the flames that devoured the government buildings. Meanwhile, 7 Sonatas was created by Ratmansky, who is a Russian-Ukrainian-American choreographer and former ballet dancer. Seven Sonatas features 6 dancers in the form of 3 couples. And Divide and Conquer is a world premiere by Ballet Met's own Leland Charles. He's a current dancer with the company and has choreographed for Ballet Met in the past. Here's what he had to say about the new piece when we spoke with him recently.
My new work, Divide and Conquer, is inspired by instances of compartmentalization in our kind of everyday, day-to-day lives, and kind of dealing with the, mix of emotions that can come with that. More so kind of the negative ones where you feel like you have to mask those.
So it sounds like it's getting kind of deep with this. And this is also cool. For this ballet, Charles worked with a fashion design class from Columbus College of Art and Design to create costume concepts for the ballet as part of the students'
really
curriculum.
cool.
So a really unique mashup of fashion, art, movement, and music all culminating in this world premiere.
And I love what Remy Wertmeyer is doing, the artistic director at Ballet Met. He has been bringing so much new artistry to Columbus. He premiered Remy. Now he's not just doing, Swan Lake or just
which is the one that
Giselle,
everybody is familiar
who
with.
doesn't love that? I love that. But anyway, it's really fun to see these new different ballets.
Yeah.
So again, where's this at? Is this at the Ohio?
This is at the Davidson Theater this weekend.
Yeah.
It starts tomorrow night, goes Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Thursday,
It's
Friday,
9
Saturday,
days,
Sunday
right?
next weekend. Yeah, with a few days in between there. 7:30 shows, couple matinee options for you this weekend only.
Love a
if you
matinee.
Love a
I
matinee.
love a
As somebody
matinee.
gets
That's
up
only available
barely.
this weekend.
Okay.
By the way, ballet has been around for 500 years.
Yes. And it is a beautiful art form.
Movies? Timothy Chalamet? A little over 100 years.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I
got
think ballet is going to be around for a long, long
the,
time.
the controversy from that
Oh,
was,
yeah.
it was,
I know.
It was swift.
How to lose an Oscar in 10 days.
The next movie coming 2027.
But I have to say, I know one of the choreographers because I
you
used
have
to
a little
do
background
ballet.
in ballet
Yes,
here.
Alexi.
I had no idea.
Oh yeah, I was I never thought I would be a TV newscaster. I wanted to be a professional ballerina.
It's not too late.
But I used to work with Alexi when I was younger. He choreographed a piece for me that I performed at the Youth America Grand Prix, which is a national, global competition. But it was when Alexi was with Joffrey Ballet in Chicago. So
Wow.
he's really great. He's really patient and he's wonderful with younger dancers. But I want to go see this now.
I
I'm
feel like
excited.
we should have the cameras pull out and you should do a
I
little
know.
bit of ballet for us.
I should have brought my point shoes.
We
I
didn't-
can still get up on them,
we didn't
even though
prepare.
it cramps my feet a little bit. Remy's been bugging me. He's
Wow.
like, "You need to come take an adult class at Ballet Met," and I'm like, "I might kill my back. I don't
Start
know.
with
I don't bend like that anymore."
I think you should do it. Start with going to the show. Be
Yeah,
inspired all over
absolutely.
again. Or look at them and see like, oh, this is difficult. Maybe I shouldn't do this.
Yeah, so that's really, really, really cool. And I tried to find a photo of me and Alexi.
I know you were looking
And I
so hard.
couldn't find it. I know. I'm bummed.
You'll find it in
I
the
gotta
blog.
text
Your
my. I
progress.
should have texted
Yeah.
my mom. I'm sure she has
Oh,
it on her
probably.
phone
It's
somewhere.
probably, I was going to say
We'll
like
save
an
it
bin
for
in the
tomorrow.
basement. Yeah.
Save it for tomorrow. By the way, balletmet.org has all the ticket information. Go see the triple bill this
Yes.
weekend, then next.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay.
My pleasure. Nice to see you guys.
Yeah, you too.
Alrighty.
All right. Coming up next, we are talking spring break travel, what you need to know, also how to keep your own stuff safe as you leave home. So that's coming up next. Welcome back to The Big Picture here on 10
Yeah,
TV+.
it's 9:30 on your Thursday. We're almost to Friday.
Almost to Friday, and some people have already started their, quote, Friday, their weekend. Spring break season.
I can't believe it. It's already here.
I know, because OSU's on spring break this week, and I believe Columbus City Schools usually takes this.
I feel like it's
they always
still
take
winter.
around Easter.
Spring,
Columbus City Schools takes
not
Easter.
feeling it,
But,
whatever.
Yeah, so, if
This
you're
comes at a bad time.
It does.
Because we're in a partial government shutdown, which means TSA employees are being forced to work without pay.
Those agents are still the ones who are coming to work, are doing so without getting a paycheck. And with that being said, 1 in every 10 has called out sick this week. That was Monday.
50,000?
Right.
Monday, 50,000
it's
TSA workers across the nation.
Yeah.
And it's really impacting, the large airports, LaGuardia, Atlanta, Hatfield. There are really long lines to the point where the TSA workers are calling in sick because they're not getting paid, and they're having to partially close the TSA security
Philadelphia
checkpoints.
had to close like 3 of their security checkpoints.
Yes.
Now, right now, this is mainly affecting those larger airports.
Columbus,
the big hubs. Columbus really
not bad.
Flowing pretty fine. We've got to look at.
Let's pull that up. We have if you go to Fly Columbus, this is a great resource, people. If you go on there, you can check just about everything with your flight. But you can check what the wait times are at the security lines, and that's what you're looking at right now. The worst,
not out of normal.
No, and the worst time was this morning around like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. But now it's saying it's under. Can you read that, Collin?
It's only
I can't
about 5
see
minutes.
that. 5 minutes.
It's about 5 minutes, and what? 43 at 6 a.m., which
43,
Columbus
wow.
is arguably a morning departure airport. I
agree. I
it's
concur.
like the longest lines you're going to wait is when TSA first opens in the morning, because that's when
everyone's
flight
getting out of Columbus
leaves.
I know.
And so that is pretty normal. And actually, with all of this talk about TSA lines being long, and
the airport
got
getting involved.
Yeah, they went to social
Reddit.
media, so they post. The Columbus Airport.
I love this.
Official Reddit account posted, and we're like, hey, look at this. This is the TSA lines at 3:30. And they posted all 3 concourses here. You can actually click through them, and there's just
that is so funny.
Nobody.
I love how they're like, here it is.
Right.
People.
Yeah.
Take a look.
Show up.
Yeah, this is what's going on.
They are still recommending people show up 90 minutes before their flight.
What do you do? What is your game plan?
I play chicken with the plane.
Oh, okay.
I am a firm hour, or because if I'm parking there, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get there about an hour and 10 to the parking lot, and then see and then try to make it.
Yeah, I try to go an hour 30.
That's not a good idea.
I know, but I have never been stuck at the Columbus airport, and I hate waiting in a gate.
Yeah, same.
I want to just get into the airport, go through TSA, and just hop on the plane.
Right. Now, I love the teeny tiny airports that are you can show up 30 minutes before departure, and you're still going to make
Those are the best.
plane.
The Akron airports like that.
Dayton maybe a little bit longer, but Dayton's a breeze.
It is a breeze. I used to live and work there, and you could literally arrive to that airport 20 minutes before your flight.
Yeah.
Literally when you were supposed to be boarding, and you would get through TSA in time.
Right.
Really incredible. But we spoke with some CMH travelers earlier this week, and this is what they had to say about the lines.
It wasn't bad at all, really. Went through pretty quick.
Probably about 15 minutes going through every which way.
See there, folks?
Yeah,
just 15 minutes.
Cool.
Not bad. It's a breeze. But a lot of people are starting to leave their homes, kind of pack up their homes, shut the blinds and all that, because they're going to be gone for a while on spring break. And law enforcement's saying you got to be careful.
Yeah. Were you a family that when you guys left on vacation or something, you set a lamp on a timer to turn on and off at random times because it made it look like people were still there?
Absolutely. And in my hotel room, you always need to leave the TV on as well. Yeah. And my parents were always really good about changing the mail. Holding the mail.
Yeah.
So when you're not home, you don't get your mail delivered.
Right.
Yeah. So
Gotta
my
make it
parents
look
are
like somebody's there.
They're on it for sure.
But if you don't think ahead that far, there is an option for you when it comes to reaching out to your local law enforcement in terms of home checks.
Yeah. So you can call your local sheriff's office or your police department, and you can schedule these home checks, and you can have them come out as frequently as you want. You can say, I'm going to be gone from this date to this date. Can you please come out 3 times this week?
Yeah.
And they will come out, and they will literally walk around your house. They'll check and see if they've seen anything suspicious, any broken windows or any doors that have been opened. So just know that you can call your local law enforcement department they're there to help you. I think people always kind of, we talked about it earlier this week with the drunk driving, like,
they think
St. Patrick's
some people
Day.
think of them as a responsive force, but they are preventative at the same time.
Exactly. They are there to help you.
They want to help you. So with that being said,
there's a new trend.
Yes.
With homes. And this is in Licking County. The Licking County Sheriff's Office says they've been seeing an increase in burglaries at homes tied to obituaries. So it seems that these criminals are looking through the newspaper, they're seeing who's passed away and died, and then they're looking up that address and they're going to that deceased individual's home and they're burglarizing the homes. They're stealing valuable things. This, of course, is incredibly upsetting for the family members that are, in the process of grieving and burying their loved one. So this is what they had to say about this and the trend that they're starting to notice.
We've had maybe 4 or 5 cases where an individual's passed away, and within weeks, their residence was broken into and things were taken. So we wanted to push that information out, which we have. But again, this is another outlet we can use to get that out. Is, make sure people are checking on the house. Make sure, maybe leave some lights on. Let the neighbors know to keep an eye on the house. Different things like that, just to be vigilant about watching over the property the first, especially the first few weeks after someone passes away.
For a family that does have someone that passes away, they can call you and you can go and check the house regularly?
Yes, we do house checks for vacations. If someone's going on vacation, they can call our office and we'll have deputies swing by and check out their house. But the same thing for this, if you had somebody that passed away, let us know that no one's going to be there, and we can have officers and deputies stopping by and keeping an eye on things. I don't know if there's one specific thing that's going to limit that, but I just think being more vigilant and getting the word out, people to check on them.
Okay, so make sure you call your local law enforcement department. They will come check your home. And they also added a part of that interview discussion. They were saying that do not put really important information into an obituary if you do have a loved one pass away. And not that I feel like a lot of people don't already do that, but kind of like key specific words or things like that. Maybe not the entire full name of your loved one. Maybe leave those out so criminals can't use it as a
and it's an unfortunate small town problem where everybody knows where everybody lives.
Right.
Everybody knows everything about everybody. I grew up in one of those towns. But it's something that, you don't think about. Obviously, these families are grieving. That is not the first thing on their mind.
I know.
So it feels like such an old, I don't know, like an old timey thing of like somebody's like picking up the newspaper, going to page 3.
Hey, everything comes around.
Yeah.
Fashion, crime trends. It all just does a big circle. It really does. The other thing is really important about all of this. If you're leaving for spring break, or if you're, you have a loved one pass away and you have to write an obituary, but just know your neighbors. Know your neighbors where you live. Know the neighbors of where your family members live. It's so important. I know with my grandparents, I knew like 2 of their neighbors just because they would always stop by. It's really important.
Oh yeah, we grew up we knew both of our neighbors. We knew them all around us, and they were always super cool.
And they can keep a lookout on things when you're not there. Yeah. So good tips there. Be safe if you're traveling for spring break, and be like Collin and get to the airport early, like 90 minutes early. Right?
Maybe. What is the longest you've ever waited in the TSA line?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I was in San Francisco and I was waiting for like an hour and a half one time. It was horrible.
I think the longest I've waited, it has to be at SeaTac in Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah. LaGuardia's never been bad.
No, LaGuardia, I've never had a problem.
Yeah. And I don't think I've ever started
Knock
from
on
Chicago.
wood.
St. Louis, easier than Columbus.
Detroit's awful.
Don't wait at St. Louis.
I've been running in Detroit before.
Oh, I ran through the Minneapolis airport. Somebody has watched me go from A gates to D gates in Minneapolis, full sprint.
I do not like having to do that.
It's it's a little rush. Ran through Dallas before.
It is.
Not something you want to do every day. But don't be like me. Do as I say, not as I do. Get to the airport on time. You don't want to be rebooking a flight.
No.
It's going to bite me one day, and I fully own that.
Have you ever missed a flight?
No.
I have missed a flight a couple times.
Oh, no.
Yeah, overslept, alarm didn't go off. Yep. Unfortunately, you don't get your money back for that one.
Oof.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yikes.
Well, coming up next, we have our Lacey Chris joining us. She's talking about swatting calls and how difficult they are to prosecute and find these people.
And it's something that's certainly been on the rise here in Central Ohio.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll be right back after this short break. All right. Welcome back to The Big Picture. We have Lacey Chris joining us today.
Hi, Lacey.
Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You focus on crime in Columbus, and you do a great job at it.
Thank you.
And you just spoke with the Licking County Sheriff's Office about a case that's involving swatting. Can you just start by explaining simply what is swatting?
So swatting is basically a call that someone gets. It's a hoax. It's not a real event, but they do it in a way to draw law enforcement or to create a distraction for something or to create chaos, basically.
Why do they do that? Who knows?
Good question.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some theories out there that they do it to test law enforcement or, like I said, to divert law enforcement from one area so maybe crimes can be committed in another area.
Because it takes up a lot of resources, especially the ones we've seen in Huntington Local, down in Ross County, and even just a couple weeks ago when we had those called in all around Franklin with Bexley and Columbus, etc.
Yeah, especially when you have the smaller communities that don't have a ton of resources, like outside of Columbus.
Yeah.
When we're talking about Licking County or we're talking about Huntington, you're talking about having most resources. If there's a threat at its school, they have to act like it's real. So they're going to send everyone there.
Right, because most of these calls, it feels like, are always something pretty severe. It's not a minor disturbance
No, it's
call.
like someone's been shot and killed, there's a bomb. Like they're always dramatic like that.
Yeah, so the case that I'm talking about, a woman was at a gas station. And this is a little different because usually it's an automated voice or overseas voice where they VPN from a different country. This one was actually there, and she claimed an elderly woman was being robbed. And she told police to hurry up because it appeared this woman was going to be hurt. And she said that a couple of times to law enforcement or to 911 to hurry up. And so about a dozen Licking County Sheriff's deputies and Pataskala Police showed up, and there was no one there.
Oh my gosh! And you talked to Licking County yesterday about this.
Yeah, they explained to me how many resources were thrown at this. If you can take a listen.
Officers were tied up. Not only did it tie up our resources, but it also put our community in harm. Our officers responded with lights and sirens. So anybody that they passed, they were putting them in harm. It tied up our resources as well. If there was another active call going on, our guys were tied up. So, it put a lot of stress on our agency at that moment, but it put more stress on the community because we couldn't respond to problems that they were having.
And let's pull up the mugshot of the suspect. She was captured and she's being prosecuted right now, right, Lacey?
She was on trial last week and she was found guilty, which this is the first time in Licking County they have taken the swatting law to trial. She was found guilty. She's been sentenced to 16 months behind bars. Now, the irony of all of this, so the new swatting law was passed in 2022. Representative Kevin Miller, who's from Licking County, was the lead sponsor of that bill. He and the other co-sponsors, shortly after they passed the bill, were all the victims of swatting calls. And so the captain who I spoke with actually showed up to Kevin's house because they got a call, that someone was being harmed at Representative Miller's house, and he showed up. And Representative Miller is a former state trooper. So he knows all of the law enforcement, of course, in Licking County. So they show up to his house, guns out, because they're afraid someone's being hurt. And it was a hoax.
Jeez. And these arrests are just hard to come by.
They really are, because like I said before, most of them are VPN through a different country. And while the person could be in the United States, they try to, send it to Europe or send it to wherever, so it's not easily trackable. And so arrests are rare, and someone like this being convicted is even rarer. So this is why it was such a big deal for Licking County to actually have not only an arrest, but a prosecution, a guilty verdict.
Right. And what are like the penalties for something like this?
So with the law that was passed in 2022, it used to be a misdemeanor.
Right.
And now they're felony offenses. And so if no one is injured, as in this case, it's a range of 14 to 18 months, I believe. If someone actually is injured for this hoax call, if one of the law enforcement officers, or in the case of Licking Valley Schools, that was a dangerous situation because a dad showed up with a gun, and he actually appeared similar to the description in the call. So that could have been a really bad situation. So let's say hypothetically someone would have been injured in that case, then it goes up to a second-degree felony. So they're obviously facing a lot more time.
And this is what Licking County had to say about those arrests not being common.
I don't think arrests are that common. Just in the recent last couple of weeks, there's been bomb threats made to schools, not within Licking County, but in the surrounding counties. It's very difficult to investigate that and come to an end. Usually, it hits with some server in some foreign country. It's very difficult to pin it to a person.
Geez, just like a scam when you get your money stolen. It's like they cannot track it back to these overseas servers.
And you've mentioned that, in the event, like in this situation, no one was hurt, but there have been events around here that either people or pets have been hurt.
Right. I covered a story back in July. You guys probably remember this, but on South Hamilton Road, there was a phone call to an address where Franklin County Sheriff's deputies showed up, and the 911 call was that a man and woman had been shot and killed. So they're obviously responding full forces to this house, and there were dogs in the house, and they didn't know what exactly was going on with that situation. And a couple dogs ended up getting shot and killed by it. So Franklin County Sheriff's Office, they are still investigating that. They don't know who called 911. So no one was shot and killed, but it's happening a lot more frequently.
It highlights how fast these things can go sideways.
Right.
Well, and they're becoming more and more prevalent. Yeah, I think especially this time of year, I think the weather's supposed to get warm finally.
Yes,
eventually.
finally.
We hope.
It's supposed to be in the 70s this weekend.
Apparently, we'll see.
But I think when the weather starts warming up, I think you see more of these, especially at the schools.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on today.
Have me anytime.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. We have Dom DeBerry joining us to talk more about March Madness. That tip-off is in the next 2 hours.
Yeah,
it's coming up
2 hours,
here. We're
45
counting
minutes.
down, so we'll be back in 2 minutes.
All right, welcome back to The Big Picture. Dom Taberi joining us. We are talking March Madness, the big Buckeye game kicking off at 12:15.
Let me tell you what, this is like Christmas, isn't it? I mean, everyone's got their picks, and we're all going to, you got a bazillion to gazillion chance of hitting it all.
Right.
But you know what? This is great for the Buckeyes. And some people are eating crow. And let me just go right out first of all. People that said that Jake Diebler was not a good coach, and people that said Ohio State wouldn't get in. Well, this guy did a masterful job coaching this year, dealing with adversity, and now the Buckeyes are in the big dance for the first time in 4 years. And Jake's a young coach that is getting better, and I think he did a masterful job. You got to love Bruce Thornton, who's the all-time leading scorer now. And this kid, who in his 4th year, is finally getting to go to the NCAA tournament. The Buckeyes, of course, the 8th seed down in beautiful Greenville, South Carolina.
Yes.
That's so nice.
I hear that's a wonderful drive, 8.5 hours.
I don't know if I'd consider 8.5 wonderful.
Adam and Nicole made it.
So remind me, 4 years ago, they didn't make it they got knocked out pretty early on, right?
Well, the last time they got beat in the first round.
Yeah, so they haven't had a win this decade.
But this is good. You got to get it going. But they're playing a TCU team. Don't sleep on these guys.
Right.
And what would a win mean for the program if they are able? If
it would mean they get to go and play Duke.
But I mean, for the program, in terms of growth, what is it going to look like for the future of OSU basketball?
Well, I mean, you just getting in is big.
Yeah.
And, you got to start somewhere. But, yeah, I want them to win. I want them to play Duke. Duke's a beat-up team, number 1 overall seed. If they win that, then what would that do to the program? The answer to that.
Boost it up.
But it's a huge step getting there.
Right.
In today's modern world of NIL, I mean, Ohio State's going to have some decisions to make. We've heard things where Ohio State is ranked in the NIL world in the Big Ten that it's not near the top. And, they're going to have to make some decisions on that. Because in this world, recruiting's important, but also the transfer portal is huge, as we saw what Ohio State football just did. But, forget all that stuff. The fact that they are in the tournament and they're going to kick the tournament off on our air, 10 TV, coming up at 12:15. This is huge. And it's huge for Deebs, but I'll go back to what I was saying about Bruce Thornton. Here's a guy that stayed here 4 years, is the all-time leading scorer, had never made it to an NCAA tournament game, and now he's getting in. That's reason to celebrate.
Yeah, what a great senior year for him.
And Deebs dealt with so many injuries this year, and this team is finally getting healthy at the right time. Let's see. But let me go back and just say this about TCU. Let me tell you something, Bryn. You never want, when Jim Tressel was here, he always say, you don't ever want to be that guy that ends up on the bulletin board of the other team. Well, guess what? There's a guy named David Punch who's their leading scorer. This guy has run his mouth. And he said that they would beat Ohio State if they played 10 times, 9 out of 10. Said that and said we're going to win today and we would win 9 out of 10. I promise you, Collin, that is on the bulletin board in Ohio State's locker room, and that'll be the rallying point. But at the end of the day, this TCU team, they've got quality wins. This is a team that beat Florida by 4. They beat opponents that Ohio State played like Wisconsin and Iowa. They beat Texas Tech by 8. So they have had quality wins. They are a smaller team, 2 guys that sees play, but they are a feisty team. They play great defense, and they have typically out-rebound their opponents. So defense and the key is going to be Bruce Thornton. This is the guy that makes this team go. If he has a good day shooting and can get his assists and get the shots to fall, they'll be all right. But if they can take him out of the game, that's the way you beat Ohio State.
And you were talking about the bulletin board, right? What's in the locker room?
Yeah, well,
Nicole and Adam got to go into the locker room.
Yeah, and this is fun.
Yeah.
There's some interesting responses.
This is pretty
they got
crazy.
From some of the
We're gonna play this.
Yeah, they weren't talking about that. They were talking about silliness.
Yes, syrup.
We've been having people fill out a bracket here.
One upset from each of you.
You got any upsets on the left side of this bracket?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Jake Diebler. Like, he puts syrup on everything.
List your final 4 right now on the spot. Ready, set, go.
I'm going to go.
Did you fill out a bracket?
Yeah, I did. It was the first time, to be honest.
It's your first time. Who's your champion?
Us.
I got Ohio State every round. As you shoot. One game at a time.
Just want to make sure that Devin Royal is locked in at the highest level, because when he is, we're a really good team.
What is your go-to condiment that you cannot live without?
Excuse me.
High Point over Wisconsin.
All right, what about you?
Queens over Purdue.
I'm going to go Lehigh, Florida.
You think you got a 16 over a 1?
I do.
Okay, all right.
I like VCU over UNC.
Syrup. You feel me? Because you need syrup for mostly everything. Like, breakfast, syrup go on everything on my plate. Like, this whole plate is like a puddle of syrup at the bottom.
It's kind of gross.
That's not, why are you making it gross? That's not gross. You got to mix everything together. It's like a whole bowl, and you just eat the bowl.
Whole bowl?
When the last time you touched the rim?
Tilly's champion is Ohio State. Who's your champion?
Same.
Yeah.
All right. That just makes me ill to my stomach.
The syrup on everything.
It's disgusting.
I know Adam said this morning he is a syrup on eggs person, which is also
Let
crazy.
me tell you something about Adam King, and this is all you need to know about Adam King, ladies and gentlemen. I took him to get an Italian sausage, and he put sauerkraut on it. Nobody in the world puts sauerkraut on an Italian sausage.
It's an onion and peppers thing.
That's against
Onions
the
and
law.
Peppers and onions, yes, but sauerkraut.
I love sauerkraut, but it doesn't go on an Italian sausage.
No, it goes on bratwurst.
Get the sauerkraut.
Yeah,
That's
at the
true.
restaurant?
At the restaurant, and they said,
Where'd you take it?
Yeah, what restaurant allowed that?
They had a special going at the get-go. They had a good,
It was a,
they had good Italian
there was a
sausage.
gas station that had Italian sausage in
teasing.
sauerkraut?
No, I was at DeSales. I was kidding
Oh,
you. DeSales.
Oh, high school, even better.
Yeah, and they were selling brats too. They were selling
That's
brats, and he wanted,
I mean, sauerkraut's great, but
not
it
on
has
an
its
Italian
place.
sausage.
Yeah, no, that's so funny. Okay, so talk to us about this pre-show you have coming up at 11:15.
11:15. It's going to be. We'll break it down. Adam and Nicole, Nene, Sheeran, will join us live from Greenville, South Carolina.
What's your nickname for Adam?
Huh?
What's your nickname for Adam?
Because he's the king. Anyways, I can't share it right now.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
And then we will be joined in studio by Brandon Beam, 97.1 The Fan. He hosts the Buckeye Show. And by the one and only G-Money, George Reese, who was on the 1999 Final Four Ohio State basketball team. He'll be here. And we'll break it down. We'll get you ready for the Buckeyes and TCU, who claimed they would win 9 out of 10 times. Let's hope this is not the one.
What do you think the final score is going to be?
I think it'll be tight. I like Ohio State to win by, let's say, 6.
Okay. Collin?
Yeah. Ooh. I don't know.
He's got Iowa State on his mind.
If I knew this stuff for sure, you and I'd be on a jet to Vegas.
Right. We'd be a lot richer men.
I would not be. I would still show up to work, but I'd.
No, you wouldn't.